Now, here's the hosts of Top Story, KLIXcast and Jill Skeen.
Well, good morning and welcome to Top Story 736-0300. Always the number to call, and good morning to you, Jill. Whoops. Sorry about that. That was not intentional.
How many more times must I endure this?
I don't know, but there's only 10 more shows.
Oh, because of the holidays.
Yeah. So,
but who's counting?
No more than 10.
No more than 10.
Well, you have to endure that.
Thank goodness.
So anyway, hey, coming up this morning we have Steve Millington with the Twin Falls Republicans, and at 9 o'clock, that'll be at 8:30, and at 9 o'clock we have Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs to talk about some of the grand jury decisions around the country that have sparked some protests. So we'll get his side of it as a prosecutor and see how that process works.
Well, we are allowed to protest. It's in the Constitution.
Oh, absolutely.
So, I mean, what do you mean how that works? You're allowed to peaceful assembly.
Whether you're right or wrong, you're allowed to protest.
Absolutely.
Even if your cause is the most stupid thing to ever come down the pike, you're allowed to protest. Absolutely. God bless America.
Are you saying we're not?
No,
well, why are you saying it so
saying we do have the right to protest.
It doesn't matter whether you think it's right or wrong. It doesn't matter what you agree with. We have the right to.
I understand that, but I can still have an opinion on it.
When Nazis can march through Skokie, Illinois, that's fine. You have the right, whether it's right or wrong.
That's the stupidest thing I've ever heard of.
Why? Well, that's why we live in America. You have the right to do it.
I understand that.
Great. So, I mean, whether he agrees or not.
Why are you attacking me like that?
Because the way you say it, we shouldn't be allowed to because you don't agree with it?
No, I didn't say that at all.
Oh, please.
And nobody listening thinks I said it that way.
Oh, really?
I'm saying everybody has the right to protest, whether we agree or not.
Yeah, well, we'll get Grant's opinion. No, that's not what you said. Anyway, whatever.
Certainly what I said.
Oh, I'm sure. There's always ways you say it.
Cranky.
Yeah. Whew. Tired, up late, had long late meetings.
Oh,
but I mean, really, we're allowed to. Well, I mean, people have freedom of speech. People should be able to do things. People should be on the up and up. People should, and it's
no question about it. Absolutely.
Anyway,
do not disagree.
Do not.
No, I don't disagree.
Good.
We do have some news this morning. Remember? Oh, I tell you here. Okay, here's somebody. They want to speak.
Good.
So we'll give them their right of freedom
Whether
of speech.
Whether they want to, whatever you agree with or not, people are allowed to speak.
We don't have to agree with them, but they can speak.
Exactly.
736-0300. Oh, they decided not to.
They said, wow, too much pressure. Now what do I have to say? Based on your First Amendment rights, call in, and it is huge pressure now. Sorry.
Oh, my. Okay, well. Oh, okay, there they are again.
Oh, we don't know if it's the same one.
Here we go. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Man, Jill woke up in a mood this morning, didn't she?
She sure did. She got off on the wrong foot,
I was on the wrong foot all night. Yep.
Wow.
Wrong foot all last night.
Hey, Kelly, do you record the show so you can go back and play that opening back for her there?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I record them.
You mean there was no tone in Kelly's voice? Are you kidding me?
No.
Oh, come on.
I totally took that
Come on.
Whether we agree with it or not, we have the right to protest.
That's right.
I agree.
And I did not refute
that. That's what he was
that.
saying.
Kelly will have to listen back.
Holy crap, he got jumped on this morning.
Well, thank you.
It's almost like being married.
It is. You're my work husband. You're a nightmare. I'm glad my real husband isn't like this. Oh, my goodness.
Oh, wow. Okay, here's another caller. Top story. You're on the air. Right. Good morning.
Good morning, you two.
Good morning.
I just wanted to let you know that I will miss your show when it's gone, but I also wanted to let Jill know there's been days I haven't agreed with her, but I did agree with her about what the City Hall was doing with itself.
Oh, yeah.
And I truly believe that should not be at the Banner Furniture area. I truly believe that. I was born and raised in this area a long time ago, and I've watched many a change, but this is, I think, a very foolish move. But Jill, you were right to call it what it was and to do what you did.
Well, thank you.
You did a good job, and I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you. Were you at the meeting last night?
No, I wasn't. But I've been reading the papers write-ups and kind of following on the radio.
Yeah.
And no, it's important to have access to city offices and to county offices. It's really important for people to have that. And I do feel that is going to constrict a lot of people, and it's going to take extra time for people to find parking and do what they need to do at the city offices. So I feel bad for that.
Yeah, and I feel bad that they voted against having a public hearing.
Yes.
Somehow they felt like the notice on Thursday for the meeting last night was enough notice for the public, and I don't think it was. And all of a sudden, Eric Waddy was allowed to speak last night. Well, that wasn't on the agenda. So did the public know that? No. He got a limited amount of time, and he spoke. He's the owner of the clinic. He was supposed to have his architect with him who couldn't make it, but they were at the meeting last week to present to the committee, who never got the opportunity to present. So honestly, to have the citizens' recommendation and then you present Eric afterwards, well, you know what? Your recommendation, you didn't get to hear what their architect said. The numbers were half as what was presented to the citizens. We didn't get to hear on the parking study. And we didn't get to hear what Terry Kramer was going to say about why they didn't take the old clinic, what they did to the old clinic, what they were doing in the County West, what agencies were in there. So to me, I felt like we didn't have the right information, and people actually got up and said it was a cost issue. Well, when your costs are double than what they actually were, how can you say you made your decision based on the accurate information? You know, I mean, they said the banner or the old clinic would be renovated up to, I think they said 116, 120 a square foot, when in actuality 50 to 60 a square foot. So that's a huge difference. That's double. So when someone comes up and says but the banner building was the only option to pay out of the city reserves, how could it be when you didn't have the right information? That's my beef with this process. My beef is that they're not having a public hearing. This is a huge expenditure for taxpayers. This building is not for city employees because they come and go. This city hall is for the people of Twin and generations to come. How do you not have a public hearing? Because they're tired of talking about it, because they've dealt with this for so long. The public hasn't. Our committee meetings, yeah, we're open to the public, but how many people can really take 2 hours out of their day, to do that? I assume they probably felt there'd be a public hearing. And, it's like, you know what? It's their city hall. It's their choice. They'll have to live with it. And I don't think they sat there and took a poll of people. People I was running into kept saying, are you kidding me? The banner building? Where's the parking? And they're right. There is no parking. Not one dedicated parking spot to that building. So, you know what? That's your city council. Those are your city employees. And there you go. And I did my best. I tried to make it a fair process. People have accused me of having an agenda. My only agenda was for it to be a fair process, to have all the information. How do you make a decision without the information? But I guess when people have their minds made up, it was just a formality.
Well, I'll tell you my concerns about this whole process, because you were involved with the nuts and bolts and the amounts and this and that, and I was not. So I'm kind of like 99.99% of the rest of the people.
Right.
But what kind of concerned me is that this was going to be a process, and then all of a sudden, they had made their decision.
Yeah.
And it had the perception. Now, I am just speaking as a civilian from the outside looking in.
Ordinary Joe.
An ordinary Joe, which I am. It just had the perception of being railroaded.
Yeah.
And I am sorry. I mean, even if it wasn't, if the perception is there, perception is reality. And when you're in a position to make these decisions, you have to be aware of perception.
Right.
If it looks like something, everybody's going to think it is, even though it might not have been. So you kind of have to jump through the hoops and do everything to make things look like it's not it's not the perception. And
right.
I don't see where that was done. But,
Well, especially when you have an agenda for last week's meeting for 3 presenters, and then the first item, was put on there deliberately to do a discussion and do a vote prior to the 3 presenters, which I disagreed with vehemently and said, this isn't right, this isn't fair, we have presenters, and frankly, that's how they railroaded the process right there with that motion.
What harm would there have been to have taken another couple of hours for this process, for
Not
this
even
situation
a couple
that's
of
going
hours.
to affect people for decades to come?
Decades to come. But that's where the process was railroaded. It was almost like, you know what, you had your time, we're done wasting our time, you're done. And then, now we'll do roll call votes when we never did before. Now we, get in trouble for the agenda. You're supposed to vote on it after the last meeting. And you're like, what? We never heard of that. And if that's the case, where was the agenda last night? Was Eric Waddy on the agenda? No. Would people have known that? No. Was Terry Kramer, he might have said yes. Was he on the agenda? No. Anyway, that's your process. It's done.
Well, we got another caller. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Hi. Just to add to the parking situation that's been talked about, a couple of things. The old Rogerson building has been purchased. I have heard that that's going to be torn down and turned into a parking lot.
No.
Even no,
it's going to be a plaza. There's no parking there.
I have heard that there is so much asbestos and so much money that would be required by the government inspectors and by working in there that it would be impossible to ever regain your money out of that building because of the asbestos in there.
Which one? The Rogerson?
The Rogerson, yeah. And B, there's always parking behind the Banner Building. And C, behind D.L. Evans and Claude Brown's, that parking lot is always 3/4 empty. And it just takes people walking across the street to park behind D.L. Evans and Claude Brown's. So there's plenty of room there. So...
Well, the parking lot, wait, let me just interject. The parking lot behind the Banner Building is filled with private parking. You need parking passes. So you got to look at that. And there's also tons of asbestos in the Banner Building.
Then you've got over 100 parking spots behind D.L. Evans and Claude Brown's. I mean, it's just wide open back there. Now, the other thing I was going to say, you said that it was railroaded. No, they did have a recent study, and if the paper is correct, by Kittleson and Associates, that said there are enough parking spaces if you consider all the places close to the Banner Building. So to say that there aren't enough parking spaces is just false. There's plenty of parking spaces.
You know
You can go back behind D.L. Evans and shoot a shotgun and not hit a single car. That's how few cars are parked back there. So,
but you know what? When you talk about accessibility, and you talk about people that are handicapped, and you talk about the elderly, they're going to walk over there when right now they can, park in front or the old clinic. And here's the other thing: the parking study was supposed to be presented to the Citizens Committee. It wasn't. We got a handout. That was it.
All right. Hey, we'll be right back. You're on Top Story 7360300. 7360300 is the number to call. Welcome back. We have Steve Millington up and coming at 8:30 with the Twin Falls Republicans. We have Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs at 9 o'clock this morning. We have callers waiting, and I want to tell you about Certiset from Farmore of Idaho. No more spraying borders around the field. No more paying labor to go in and get the watering pipe out of the field so you can get in and get your crops. They've got Certiset. It is a new flexible pipe. They put attachments on your equipment that moves the pipe around while you're out there. You can water right up until blooming. You can turn the water on right after you get the cuttings of hay out. You need to ask them about it at Farmore of Idaho because they know all about it. This is new technology, folks, and it's 324-3341 or farmoreofidaho.com. Okay, I'm going to press on the button here, and 7360300 is the number. Top Story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, too.
Do you have a comment?
Go ahead.
Hello? We're on the air.
I just wanted to say that, Jill, I appreciate what you're doing with this. There's not too many things that I agree with you on throughout the years, but I do appreciate it. And I think it's time for the people in Twin Falls to really look at what's going on with our city government and start to decide if these are the people that we want in leadership. I don't think that they're listening to what we have to say, and I think that they think they have a free lunch, so to speak, and it's a travesty. And I think it's time that that we look at this and see who we want as leaders in our city.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. And you know what? When you don't have a public hearing for something this big that affects the citizens, I mean, I'm shocked. How do you not have a public hearing? You know, that's a 2-week notice for people to, and P.S., this is the holiday season. So you have a meeting, you know, you get a notice on Thursday for a meeting Monday that doesn't list exactly what's going to happen at the meeting, which affects your town and affects your, $7, possibly $10 million out of your cash reserves. They're not even taking it to a bond or levy. They're just writing a check out of the cash reserve. So I'm sorry. I think if anything, I think the public should have had a say in it. They have to use this building. It's not just for employees. They come and go. It's the public.
We will have, I think Greg Lanning is scheduled to be on the State of the City tomorrow at 9 o'clock. So we'll have him on to get the other side.
And we might have the dissenting view as well. So,
gee, I wonder who that would be. 7360300, top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Morning. I've dealt firsthand with this as well, and in the past. Jill, I hope that you, and you're very good at it. I don't agree with very much that you
I'm glad everyone can agree on this point now. I should have done this 5 years ago.
But I will say this: when it comes to something you truly are invested in and believe in, you ask questions of people that need to be asked. And I hope when Greg Lanning gets in there tomorrow, you will hold him to the fire and make him answer.
Well, I hope you call in too. I mean, you guys have to call in too.
It's the wool was pulled over everybody's eyes, and this was a decided thing way before the committee was even thought of. The committee was just a technicality.
I know, that's how I feel.
At least that's the perception that I got after all this kind of work through. And again, I don't know the nuts and bolts of this, and I'm really not all that much vested in because I live out in the county and I don't do a lot with City Hall. But just from an outsider looking in, the perception was this was a done deal before it even got started.
Well, when you got 4 or 5 committee members...
I'm not making any accusations there. I'm just saying what it looked like, what the perception is, and I don't think I'm the only one with that perception.
No, you're not. But when you have 4 or 5 committee members, and I said this last night in front of the council, that felt used and felt like a waste of time and, really just a pawn in their game. I mean, how does that say? And said they would never volunteer to help the city again, and I'm one of them. I will never waste my time and energy on a process like this. When you have other committee members saying that, is that a coincidence? Come on.
7360300, top story. You're on the air.
Yeah, I'm going to stick up for Jill on this one too, because when they removed those parking meters, they were already having troubles with the people that was working for the business parking in front of their business. They're taking up the customer parking.
Yeah.
And now we're going to go to the same thing in your last call it before at Todd Brown or the first bedroom parking lot and stuff, but that's for their customer parking also, and not for the whole businesses to be taking up their spaces for their customers too.
Right.
And I think the city has more money tied up into this than what they are actually saying on when they was putting that hold on to the bids and stuff.
Well, they have $27,000 they've already spent on this. They said they did their due diligence, but to really do your due diligence, you need to do a space needs assessment, which has not been done. But you know what? Call in tomorrow. Greg Lanting will be on. You can ask him why he didn't feel it was important to have a public hearing, and he was the one who initiated that and on the vote last night. And I think that was a wrong move. Let the people speak. At least let someone speak.
Well, coming up, we're going to let Steve Millington speak with the Twin Falls Republicans.
Maybe we'll get Steve's opinion on this. Why don't we put him on the hot seat?
We'll be right. Steve lives in Buell, right?
I live in Kimberly, and I still cared.
7360300 is the number to call. And ladies and gentlemen, we have reached that time in the week when
the Democrats' secular progressive move, political correctness is killing us too. They want to take the money from the hard-working man and give it to the lazy folks that don't give a damn. Democrats and liberals, shame on you. Don't punish us all, just to please a few. You're holding people back while we're picking up the slack, and that's why we can't vote for a Democrat. Oh, no.
Well, there you go. That means we have Steve Millington with us from the Twin Falls Republicans. Good morning, sir.
Howdy. that song makes my day.
Oh, that's good.
Get your blood.
That's a pretty low bar then, isn't it, Steve?
Well, I mean,
if
come on.
That's what makes your day, buddy.
After all, it is Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday.
Yes, indeed. It's my last full week.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
not that anybody cares or should care.
Sure.
I'm just stating, for your benefit, this is my last full week.
Okay, so next week we have a holiday in there.
Oh, yeah,
we got
sure.
Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday I'll be here, and then Thursday's Christmas, and we won't be here Friday, the day after Christmas.
And
then the next week
is Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday.
And that's I'll be done.
Gone.
Wait a second here.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, so New Year's Eve we work, and then you're done.
Yeah, New Year's Eve is Wednesday.
That's
right. So that'll be the last day of January 1st. I'll be a has-been. You'll
be a Kelly who?
Speck. Yeah, exactly. I'll be a speck
on the windshield of history.
There you go.
Good way
to put it. Good way to put it.
The lint and the belly button of life.
No, I liked it better. The speck on the windshield of history.
He's belly button lint.
That's good. I like that.
Okay.
I'm going to start seeing that.
I'm the lint.
After December 31st, I'll be lint and the belly button of life.
That's it.
Oh, my.
That's it.
Oh, my.
Which can be removed at any time.
Oh, my. Well, we're going to start off this morning talking about not necessarily a Republican or a Democrat issue, but the State Land Board has approved a plan to establish new advisors, auditors, and consultants to help with their decisions. This, on the surface, would seem kind of like a good thing, or is it too many hands in the cookie jar? And they stated it would take $500,000 to implement something like that, which I don't really understand. But what's your viewpoint on this?
Well, the $500,000 thing really bugs me something terrible. But one of the things they're doing is they're using a consulting firm based in San Francisco, and $500,000 wouldn't charter the jet to fly them up here. So that's only the beginning.
And also California, they're actually going to have consultants from California.
What are they thinking?
There's a couple of things. I think there's enough real good, competent, commercial real estate developers in Idaho that we don't need to go to California and find out what they're doing down there. I mean, even from a distance, we can look down there and say to ourselves, well, this ain't working worth a hoot. We don't want no part of this deal. I don't know the structure of the State Land Board. My guess is that they have some staff members on the land board who take care of the kind of the day-to-day type operations. If they don't have anyone in that organization who can help advise and give some background to the decisions that the land board members make, then they've got the wrong people in there.
Seems like it, huh?
There are several major real estate developers in the Boise Valley, commercial real estate developers, who could give an awful lot of input to the State Land Board, and we wouldn't have to go hire some fancy consulting firm from California. I'll bet you in a half a dozen phone calls I could find 3 or 4 guys who would be willing to contribute to this process.
But don't we always talk about, we're Idahoans, we can manage our own lands. We need the wisdom, we live here, and then all of a sudden they go to
California. Now we have to go to California.
Do you know what I'm saying? We hear that all the time.
Well, there's and I notice this with all kinds of state governments, and I realize that governments have to rely on professional consultants and stuff just in order to be able to get past federal rules and guidelines. But there is some, and corporations do it too. There is this idea that in order to be an expert, you have to live away from this area.
That's right.
And that's any area. You go to San Francisco, and I'm sure that they're the same way.
They get the guys from Chicago.
That's right, or Boise.
Because when you live farther away, you're a bigger expert.
I remember one an expert is an
has been drip under pressure.
Yeah, drip under pressure. So
there you go.
I never heard of that one before.
Yeah, that doesn't work so well either.
Let's see if we got time for a question here. Top story, you're on the air with Steve Millington.
So how many days you got left, Kelly?
I know, please.
How many days? I can tell you it's 380 some hours.
Yeah, I know. You keep posting that on Facebook like every other hour.
I know.
No. Once a day. Once a day is all you get.
It's annoying, isn't it?
So So one member of your state land board is your treasurer from the state, and if he doesn't know how to invest money, then what the heck do we have him for a treasurer for?
I know.
That's I need to make one correction there. That the question is valid. If these people are supposed to be managing this thing, what the heck are they doing? But the state treasurer is not a member of the land board.
It's Secretary of State.
The state controller is. We have the governor, the attorney general, secretary of state, the controller, and superintendent of public instruction.
We'll be right back.
Oh, my God.
7360300 is the number to call. We are back, and I know we were kind of in a good discussion earlier about consultants, accountants, and whatever the other word was. So
advisors.
Yeah, advisors. So, and so how would you wrap up that thought?
Well, I think what the land board is, in my opinion, they're abdicating their first line responsibility to take care of the land board decisions. Yes, they need information and so forth. I don't think they need to spend $500,000 to get it. I think there's enough real good people in Idaho that they could get on the phone and say, I have a question. Could you help me?
Yeah.
And if
who
they
might
don't,
be willing to answer them without $500,000 being involved.
That's right. And the other thing of it is any time that government, and I know that they like to do this, but when we start taking the approach that we're going to retain advisors, auditors, and consultants, what we're really doing is saying, I want to find somebody that I can blame when things go wrong.
Yep.
And it wasn't my fault. We hired these guys. We followed their advice. It didn't work. We're not going to use them anymore. Don't blame me. Horse feathers.
Or if they say what they want them to say, well, they advise and whatever. But don't, everyone should rest assured because Sherry Ybarra is on the land board, I'm sure you should be ringing with confidence there.
She might surprise everybody.
She might.
She's on a silence tour. Perhaps she should
I
stay
think,
that way.
your comment earlier, Kelly, about do we have too many hands in the cookie jar? Yeah, we do. If we really want advisors and consultants to start making these decisions for us, then I want all of these constitutional officers to resign and get out of Dodge, and we'll let the advisors and consultants run the state government.
All right, 7360300 is the number to
and
call.
500,000 into California. Why not 500,000 into Idaho consultants?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm sure that
I would consult for that.
Yeah, me too. For an extended period of time.
We always talk about we know our lands better than everyone else. Okay, but we have to go to California.
I'd even do it for a little less than that.
Yeah.
I got one more suggestion. They want to buy all kinds of commercial properties, and people in Boise and Idaho Falls are wringing their hands. They take these properties and they go off the state tax rolls and they all the various reasons. Well, then I got an idea for you. If you're really in love with buying commercial property, let's go to Salt Lake City, Utah, and buy good prime commercial property in Salt Lake City and take it off the Salt Lake City and Salt Lake County tax rolls, and we'll collect all of the revenues and resources and bring them back to Idaho, but we still pay all Idaho tax on all of our properties. So Utah gets shafted and Idaho gets all the money.
There's an idea, Steve.
Well, one of the big
was it worth 500,000? I'm not sure.
And they just got it for free for crying out loud. Next.
All right, so we got several people lining up for presidential candidates the Republican presidential candidates for 2016. We got Jeb Bush, we got Ted Cruz, we got Marco Rubio, we got Rand Paul, we got Donald Trump.
Right.
So,
wait, but Cruz was born in Canada. Remember the whole birther thing?
I did a little research on that, and based on what most of the experts say,
he's okay.
He is okay.
So then what was the whole birther argument against Obama?
Would you listen a minute? So is Barack Obama.
Duh.
If he was born to a U.S. citizen.
That's right.
Actually, in the U.S.
Born to the U.S. citizen, the mother was a U.S. citizen. That's the same exact scenario with Ted Cruz.
No, it's not. Because Ted was born in Canada and Obama was born in Hawaii.
No, right. That is true, but it doesn't make any sense, any difference because
Cruz's parents, his dad, was up there on assignment.
Who's Cuban?
By some government agency. And so that made him.
But he was not. He's not a U.S. citizen.
An expatriate. Well, the wife then was an expatriate.
The mother was.
And when she had the baby in Canada, he was automatically a U.S. citizen.
That's right.
Yeah,
that would be exactly the same.
He had dual citizenship.
That's exactly the same as members of the armed forces who are stationed outside the continental United States. Well,
which is what happened to John McCain.
And they're born.
Well, he was born
countries.
in Panama.
Right.
Yeah. But the thing of it is then what's the whole birther argument? Well, if Obama,
now
it doesn't doesn't matter because it's your guy.
Yeah, whatever.
Oh, talking about hypocritical. My gosh.
But,
I guess Canada and Kenya aren't the same.
No, not quite.
Oh, yeah, they're foreign
I think
countries.
Ted Cruz shot himself in the foot big time with his 2-bit thing that he pulled yesterday or the day before, over the weekend, I guess it was.
Do you want to explain in case people didn't follow this?
I don't know all the details, but associated with the passage of the $1 trillion Cronabus bill, is that what they called it?
It's like a cronut. Who knows?
Cronabus,
yeah.
Cronabus.
He wanted to throw in some restrictions on illegal immigration. And as he did that, he opened a door for Harry Reid to put in all kinds of approvals for appointments and a couple of judgeships.
Well, what happened was
the D.C. federal court.
They were supposed to adjourn Friday night. And actually, Mitch McConnell left, I think, at 9:30 saying, see you Monday.
Yeah.
Because they didn't have enough time to get all their nominees in.
And so
then they didn't adurn because of Ted and his grandstanding. That's
right.
And then Harry Reid pushed through 23
now we're looking at
nominees.
We're looking at something in the neighborhood of 20 to 25 nominees that
would never have gotten
23, I think.
It was 23. Yeah. But I'm wondering, what did Mitch McConnell think? Did he not know that was happening all weekend?
Heck if I know. But I think that Cruz's light just got very dim.
I think his light's been dim for a while.
It did in my mind anyway. If he's going to pull that kind of crap, he tried to do an end run.
And it didn't. And they didn't vote for it anyway.
The referees had blowed the clock, the ball dead. And he tries to do an end run, and wait a minute here.
He does have his fans though, because he's not really a game player.
He's a game player.
No, he's not.
No,
because he didn't follow the game plan that the Republicans had.
His
and
game
he said,
was,
I don't care. He said, I'm going to do this.
His game is
very
was
personal to highlight Ted Cruz.
That might have been his own game, but that was his own game plan. It was not the game plan of the Republicans.
But here's a news flash: if you're, did he really want those 23 people nominated by the Democrats and
not
approved?
Really.
Okay, so then where's your game when his vote was failed?
The problem is he run on his own.
Yeah.
He did not work with the rest of the Republican
So how can you?
There.
So do you really think about the bigger picture, or do you just think about yourself?
A lot of people find that
that's
attractive.
all he thought about was himself.
A lot of people find that attractive,
Great.
especially in the political climate world. We have. Well,
here's a news flash. Don't you need your fellow Republicans to help you actually run for president?
He doesn't think
he's not going to have any.
7360300. Top story. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. I'm one of those fans, and you guys are all wrong.
Okay, tell us what we wrong.
Yeah.
What are we doing wrong here?
He's the only guy that is actually doing what he said he was going to do when he ran. All the rest of you, you guys talk a big talk, and then when you get behind the seat, you shut your mouth, you don't do anything, and all he wanted was a vote on Obama's bill. He wanted the Democrats to be on record that they were for or against what Obama did. He got it. And what's going on up there right now, the lame duck thing, is just absolutely deplorable. The people have spoken. They voted a bunch of people out. All the people that voted for Obamacare are gone. I mean, and what's going on with our Republicans? They're doing their own damn thing. Why don't they just go be a bunch of Democrats?
Yeah, I told you he had his fans.
Well, he does have a lot of fans.
That's one fan.
He makes some very interesting points, but the key thing here is, there's 100 votes in that Senate. And until January the 3rd or 4th, whenever they swear them in, we only have 45. Come January, we'll have 54. That there's a huge change in the political climate between now and the first part of January, and you're going to need to have all of the players, even though you may not agree with what they're doing. Those houses of Congress are so rule oriented and so steeped in the tenure and traditions and all this stuff. You have to have the other players on board in order for you to get anything done. And this, his intention, okay, I can't find a lot of fault with that. I'm tired of all of these backdoor deals that are going on, and we need to shut them down and get them out of here. But the first thing we better do is make sure we understand who's on first.
Well, I mean,
And
but
if
this is what
if we're not
happens.
sure who's there, then we better just back up a second and take a real careful look at the landscape and say, what are going to be the ramifications of this idea? Is it going to be beneficial to the Republicans and therefore to me, or is it just going to be beneficial to me and forget everyone else?
I mean, you think it's pretty bad when you're getting tweets from Democrats saying, "Thank you, Ted Cruz.
Yeah.
We got our nominees through." And this is what happens in lame duck sessions. It doesn't matter. Either party, a lame duck session, they get what they can get in. That's how it works. But for your guy to help the Dems, and they're sitting there thanking him because those guys wouldn't have been approved. Even the Surgeon General.
Yeah.
That the NRA was against. Ooh.
Ridiculous, absolutely ridiculous move. And it was just not well thought out.
Well, he just thinks about himself.
You know, everything we do has consequences, and he just asks them. I know what he's trying to do is build a huge base. He wants to run for president, and then he wants to encourage this far right side of the Republican Party, but this kind of stuff does not bode well.
Do you think he'd make a good president?
Not today, and maybe never. You've got he doesn't have what I consider to be managerial or executive level experiences. Now, there's only one reason, where or if that I would consider a Donald Trump. He does have a lot of executive experience, and he has brought companies back from the very edge of bankruptcy back into a more solid and secure financial
Donald
footing.
Trump?
Donald Trump.
Who's filed bankruptcy 3 times?
But that's
who's
right.
had lawsuits
and
against
him.
him
And he pulled
for
him back out of bankruptcy and had
his
it
own
dismissed
companies.
and went on with the business, and it's now profitable.
Yeah.
He knows how to fix something that's bankrupt. And by the way, that's kind of where we are.
What about Jeb Bush?
Two Bushes is enough.
I think so too. I'm shocked
sorry.
I'm shocked you say that, but I'm like, are you kidding me? More Bush?
I just.
But they think they're the only ones who can run for president?
What about Rand Paul?
He can't win the general election. He's a little bit too far to the right wing. He's kind of like Ted Cruz in this regard. He says a lot of the right things, and he really has some good ideas. But the fact is, he will not get a majority of votes.
But he is going more to the right. He's being more centrist. He is.
You mean more to the left?
No, I mean more centrist. I mean, he's not as extreme as he was. Yeah.
He's kind of vacated some of his extreme.
Yeah.
And he's pulled back to kind of the more
denies his
moderate.
past positions. No, I didn't say that, even though you have videotape of it.
What do you think of the prospect for a Republican president in 2016?
I read an interesting article last week, and it said that the political makeup of the United States, both the geographical and the legal. When in 1982 the Congress passed this thing that said when we redistrict, we have to meet these requirements. Well, they basically eliminated Republicans from being elected presidents.
Oh my
if
gosh.
you go back and look at it, since 2000, George W. was the last Republican to campaign in California, and before that, 92 or 96, California voted Democrat and has done every time since. Well, you need 270 votes to win. California has electoral college votes. I'm sorry, let me correct that. California has 55 electoral votes. And basically the Republicans have just abdicated that. And it's because even though California has a few, and I can't tell you the number, but maybe 15 or 20 of their members of the United States House of Representatives are Republican. So they do have a pretty sizable Republican presence. However, electoral votes are granted based on total votes in the state. And the Democrats win California. Let's look at Pennsylvania for just a moment. Are we out of time?
Not about 20 seconds.
Pennsylvania has 18 votes. They have 13 Republican House of Representatives. They have 5 Democrats. Those 5 Democrats are located 3 in Philadelphia, 1 in Scranton, and 1 in Pittsburgh. But those Democrat votes are large enough that they carry the state of Pennsylvania to the Democrat side every time.
But that happens with a lot of states either way.
Many states. I just picked two. Many states. So the question in my mind, are we better off as Republicans to secure and hold and maintain the House of Representatives, the United States Senate, and concede the presidency? Think about that till next week.
Think about this. Veto pen, baby. Veto pen.
We don't want you to run out of good things to worry about.
We're out of time. We have Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs this next hour right here on Top Story. And welcome back to Top Story. 7360300 is always the number to call. Welcome back, Jill.
Thanks, Cal.
It's 34 out, and
is it?
Grant Loeb says that it's not snowing, but it looks like it could at any time.
You know what?
So.
You might have a future as a weathercaster.
Well, that would only be if I were to be right, and that's unlikely.
This is probably true.
And that means I might have a future.
I know. They're not always right, Grant.
That's
and they never get blamed for it either.
That's right. The only job I know you can be wrong most of the time and never get blamed.
Yeah. we can't get away from that. We're always blamed. But anyway, I was kind of excited it was snowing. I was like, let it snow. I would love a foot last night. That would have been awesome.
It's getting about time, but if it wanted to wait till January 1st, that would be better for me. But, that's all about me, and I don't mean to sound that way. So, I do have to say, though, before we get to Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs, I left you yesterday sitting on the edge of your seat knowing that I had to go to the dentist.
I'm sorry, I forgot.
Well, I had some other work that needed to be done, which was just routine stuff. Well, I had an appointment set up yesterday already, and then Sunday evening...
Oh, you did? How coincidental.
I know. See there? And Sunday evening, I bit down, and I felt something go crack.
Buckshot. They forgot to clean out the buckshot.
Hurt, and I thought there was something in my food. Yeah. That was not the case. I just bit down on a tooth, and it just cracked.
Your tooth cracked?
Yes.
Yikes.
So I thought, no, I couldn't. And I thought, well, I got a dentist appointment tomorrow anyway, so I'll just wait. So I went there and told the dentist about it, Dr. Alexander, and he says, yep, there it is right there, and he let me look at it. It was cracked. The whole shelf, he called it. The whole shelf is cracked up, but it stayed there. It's still together, but it's just apart from the tooth. So went ahead and did the other work.
That actually makes me like
So
crazy.
now what I have to do is wait until next Tuesday in order to get it pulled, because I had to make an appointment with another dentist in town. Yeah,
they can't fix it.
No.
They can't super glue it.
I was going to ask him that.
1,001 uses.
I was going to say, don't you just have some super glue? You could just put it in there and hold it together for a few seconds.
Wrap a rubber band around it.
Yeah, there you go.
No, those weren't good options.
No, I guess not. So anyway, I'm going to have to chew on the left side of my mouth now for a week.
I'm sure that will be difficult.
It is. I'm already having difficulty with that because when I experience the eating experience, I like to, get the whole experience, not just half.
Believe me, I know.
Not just half of my mouth.
I've worked with you long enough.
It's going to be a rough week, and then part of next week, too. So.
Oh, goodness. But just in time for the holidays.
Oh, I know. They're going to pull it on Tuesday, and then Thursday's Christmas. Oh, Christmas. Lucky me. I'll only
So
have,
what are they going to put in besides?
Days
are they going to put in something there?
No, just, they can do all sorts of things. They can put in implants. They can put in a bridge. They can do this, that, and the other thing.
Are you glad you're hearing this, Grant?
And I'm thinking.
No, Grant's sitting there thinking.
This is the only way I would hear it, because if I were driving and the radio were on, I'd
probably
turn your dentistry discussion down.
Well, fine.
Grant would be like, wait, now how can we sue the dentist? No, I'm kidding. Dr. Alexander is very...
Fine, I'll stop talking about it then.
Yeah. The small chat is not Grant's...
this is therapy for
specialty.
me.
Yeah.
So what are they going to do, fire me?
Oh, my gosh. If I had a dime for every time you said that now.
Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs, thanks for joining us today,
Where's his theme song?
Happy to be here.
Oh, you know what, man? I almost forgot that.
This is really, it's like working with a retired guy.
It's not here.
Anticlimactic after the dentistry discussion.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, how are your teeth? Have you had your 6-month checkup, Grant?
I don't have a song. Anyway, I don't have a song.
Okay,
so we're
fine.
Just going to have to get going.
Grant Loebs is here.
All right, so there's a lot of protests around the country because of the grand jury decisions in Ferguson, Missouri, in New York, based on the killing of unarmed black men.
Well, it's not just those two, but I think it's the tipping point. It's
Okay.
I think that's what started. It's the tipping point.
Could very well be. So now people are blaming the grand jury. So what's your perspective on this?
Well, I think what happens in this country, and we all of course, honor and respect the Constitution and the right to protest that it gives us, and the right to freedom of the press, so that we can all write articles and letters and editorials. But sometimes we confuse the right to speak out with expertise, and we like to talk as if we know things when we don't know anything. And that's the problem with a lot of what's going on with these protests. Now, I've watched the video in New York, and that's a far different situation than the one in Ferguson. But to blame the grand jury system really misses the point, because certainly the Ferguson one, there are only two ways to get a case from a police investigation into court for a trial. One is to go through the grand jury, and the other is to take it to a judge in a preliminary hearing. In Ferguson, they had a lot better chance getting the grand jury to indict than they did a judge who, would have decided with a preliminary hearing with the defense attorneys cross-examining the witnesses. So I think the problem here is that people don't understand what the grand jury is, how it works, what it does, and they confuse their complaint about the result with a complaint about the process. You can complain about the results of trials, you can complain about the results of elections, and grand juries too, but the process isn't flawed. What people are really upset about is the end result. And people are always willing, both with trial juries and grand juries and decisions by prosecutors and judges, to put themselves in the position of being the person who would have decided better, but they don't have the facts. And so it's easy to go out and protest when you don't know exactly what happened. And I think that's largely what's going on.
Well, but also I think people think that it's now, like it's a trial. Like now he was found innocent or whatever. And that's really not the case. It's really whether they have probable cause to go to a trial. And so
exactly.
I think
that's
people
my point. They don't understand the system. And it's not just average people. I mean, I'm not complaining about people's right to express themselves and to differ with, have a different opinion as to what the outcome should have been. But I've read editorials. I've read, nationally syndicated columnists. I've watched people on TV who claim to have been a former U.S. attorney or something. It's astounding how little these people who set themselves up as opinion leaders and experts know about our system. And it's really amazing to read some of these things. Yeah. But the system works most of the time. Every system devised in every field of human endeavor is imperfect. And the grand jury, the trial jury, the preliminary hearing system, police investigations, prosecutorial discretion, all these things work most of the time and a huge percentage of the time, but sometimes they yield results that individuals may disagree with.
We're almost getting to the point in this country where these processes are being devalued to spectator sport, almost like, well, the majority should win. If the majority think they should be indicted, then that's the only outcome they will accept. And that's what's kind of disturbing me a little bit.
Right, and there isn't any requirement that the critics and the pundits and the TV experts be consistent. I mean, they can be all excited and angry about a prosecutor, supposedly with this whole ham sandwich deal, running the process and indicting whoever he wants to, and then on the day when the prosecutor doesn't indict somebody, they can say, well, he should have been in there telling the grand jury what to do and controlling the process and keeping information from them. I mean, the Ferguson criticisms were really amazing, because if you follow the thread of that logic, they are essentially arguing that the prosecutor should prosecute people he doesn't think are guilty because it's politically expedient. And that would be a pretty scary system if that were to happen.
So is it unusual to produce everything online? Because I guess in the Ferguson case, they produced everything so people can see it.
That's very unusual.
That was
there
unusual,
would be that
wasn't it?
kind of really extreme transparency and extreme open file policy with regard to a grand jury. That's almost always illegal to do. Evidently, the prosecutor in Ferguson got permission to do that, which is unusual, but I think they anticipated the firestorm of criticism, and so they said, well, here you go, you can look at what we did.
Who would he get permission to do that from?
It would have to be from a judge.
Oh, from a judge.
The judge who presides over the grand jury.
So a judge can overrule laws then?
The law isn't 100% ironclad that you can't make things public from a grand jury. It's just that it's always not made public unless there's a decision by a judge to make an exception.
All right.
And again, I don't want to be like one of the people I've been talking about who are
go ahead, Grant. Be a
assuming
hypocrite.
Things they don't know. I don't know
ahead.
exactly how the grand jury statute in Missouri is. And that's the problem with this uniform attack on grand juries, is that they're different in every state. They're far different, for instance, in Oregon than they are here. The federal system, which, we've heard all these comments from the experts about how you can always indict somebody. Look at all these cases and how few are not indicted. The federal system is completely different and far more likely to result in an indictment than the state systems are because of the way it's set up. So, you have to be comparing like things, first of all, and you have to actually know how the system works in order to really be able to criticize it.
736-0300, top story. You're on the air with Grant Lobes.
Good morning. Hey, Grant,
Good morning.
last time I spoke to you, you said that that I asked you if the scales of justice were equal. Now that you've seen the video in New York and stuff, and you see the police union come up and defend them, don't you think there should be an independent investigation, not the prosecutor, which he knows the police, and the way you expressed yourself last time toward the police is like, oh, they're heroes, they have a gun. Well, they also commit murder, like what you've seen in New York. So don't you think there should be an independent investigative branch that would investigate, let the prosecutor out, so they can investigate everything with the... Because, you and the police work too hand in hand. So it's like, you're always going to give them the benefit of the doubt, but, that's what's happening in New York, and so that's why people are protesting.
All right, let's see what he has to say.
Well, I'm not sure that I was quoted correctly there, but I get the gist of the question. Yes, I think independence is a good thing. For instance, as I think I discussed last time, in Idaho and in Twin Falls, when we do a grand jury, if we have a policeman who's involved in an incident and a policeman's used force on somebody, we don't do that case here. We have an independent person do it because I might know Officer Jones and I might have had a case with him and my office might work with him all the time, as the caller suggests. And so we have an independent person from another jurisdiction who has no connection with that policeman or that police department and will never work with them again, handle those cases so that we have that kind of independence. So I do think that's a good idea. Creating an independent special prosecutor just for police cases is unnecessary if you have a way for an outside jurisdiction to handle the investigation as we do in Idaho.
And we'll be right back. Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Lobes here on Top Story. 736-0300 is the number to call this morning on Top Story. And the word of the day brought to you today by the Happy Landing Restaurant at the Twin Falls Airport. Go there and eat homemade food.
Tell them Kelly sent you.
In fact, we like it so much. The Ham Radio Club likes it so much. We are having our Christmas party there.
Are you?
Yeah, we
are. Are you going to have pie?
Maybe.
Because Grant, if you go out there and you tell them that Kelly or I sent you, they'll give you, and you've never been there before, they'll give you a free piece of pie.
If you purchase a
drink
order,
or a meal. Coffee and a piece of pie.
Homemade pie. That's not your store-bought pie.
That could be your
good thing.
That could be your place you could hide.
On the left side of your mouth, though, right?
Yeah, I'm going to have
He'll just suck it down.
I don't know, unless it's like a banana cream or a chocolate pie or something.
Just put it in the ostrizer and just go through
the straw. Just use a straw.
I can suck it up with a straw. There you go. Anyway, go there and eat. Tell them we sent you. Have a good time. Happy Landing Restaurant, Twin Falls Airport. Yesterday's $100 instant winning name is Elena De Leon.
Elena De Leon, congratulations.
And your $100 word of the day for today is roof.
Roof.
Yep. And you have until midnight tonight to go to our website, newsradio1310.com. Click on word of the day, type in roof, ROOF. And listen tomorrow. And if you hear your name tomorrow and you played the word today, you win $100.
That's how easy that is.
Yep, just like that. We got a caller for Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs. Top story, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning. I just wanted to kind of respond to the last guy. I think the biggest problems going on right now is there is quite a bit of abuse from the police officers on a heightened emotion deal. And too many of them are using a lot of force that's sometimes resulting in death. Yeah. But there is too many people trying to judge what's going on by emotion, not by law. And I think that's where our problem is coming down. In both cases that everybody's up in arms about, if the people weren't breaking the law or resisting arrest, none of it would have happened. And that's the bottom line fact. But the fact still stands. They're upset because some of the abuse by police officers are horrific, and a few bad apples doesn't spoil a whole bunch.
Makes sense.
Yeah, I don't have a whole lot to say about that. I mean, obviously there are police officers, as there are judges and prosecutors and CPAs, and every walk of life, every type of person makes mistakes, and there are bad apples in every group. But by and large, if you look around the country, police officers behave pretty well. They are provoked constantly. They're trained to not behave emotionally, and when they do, that's a bad thing. And when they do, we're correct to criticize them because they have put themselves in a job where a high level of scrutiny is always on them, and high expectations and high standards. So if they fail to meet those, then they should get in trouble. But by and large, with the enormous number of police that are out there, the incredible number of incidents they're involved in, they show quite a bit of restraint.
But there are areas, and there have been, and there are that people of color are stopped for whatever reason. I mean, I've said this example 100 times. The attorneys I worked with at Reebok, black attorneys, one drove a BMW, one drove a Mercedes, were stopped constantly, because how could they be driving nice cars? I mean, the incident in Cleveland, the little boy was shot under 2 seconds. The Cleveland Police Department is apparently totally out of control. They had a 62-car chase for this couple that was speeding. It shot him over 130 times, 113 times, something like that. So, I mean, it happens, but a lot of areas, and we don't have that experience out here. The diversity we have or don't have is different in here. But when you're in Philadelphia, where it's more than 50% African American, in Boston, where has always been some racial issues. I mean, go to a Red Sox game. There really are not African Americans that go to Red Sox games. There are areas where, no, it's true. But there are areas that people are stopped, excuses are made, and they feel harassed, and that's what happened in Missouri, and they've had to change that.
I don't think that's what happened in Missouri.
No, prior to this incident, the
you're
state
not
was
talking about the Brown incident.
No, I'm saying the
right.
state had so many problems, they had to institute changes, and how many times people were stopped, and they're recording that because there was such a disparity. So, for us to be naive,
I don't have
about
the statistics
things that
on
happen.
that, and I think that you'd have to look at that nationwide, because obviously individual places, because of individual leadership and individual kinds of traditions within that area, have different problems. I mean, in Twin Falls and in Idaho, we don't have a lot of those problems.
No, but I'm saying it's hard for us to relate to that.
No, I don't disagree with that. But by and large, what I'm saying is, the number of incidents like this that we see nationwide are very small, and that doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to fix those which we find. But the blanket condemnation of police departments is fundamentally wrong. And you get yourself into making some stupid comments like the mayor of New York made. I mean, that's just crazy talk.
I don't think it is crazy talk.
As a result of that, he has lost the confidence of his entire police organization, which is not something you want when you're the mayor.
Yeah, we'll be right back to Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loebs. 7360300 is the number to call here this morning on Top Story. Welcome back. I want to say that Canyon Pawn is the newest pawn shop in town. It's also, I would say, bar none, the cleanest pawn shop in town.
I would say, bar none.
Yep. They even have light-colored floors so that you can see if there's any dust or dirt. I didn't see any last time I was in there. But anyway, we got Christmas approaching. You might need a little extra cash for something. Take something in and see Dave Hansen and the crew and pawn it. Get some Christmas money. Or go in and buy a Christmas present. They got guns. They've got camping supplies, woodworking,
They have so much. We haven't been in it. Maybe we should check it out again. Bikes.
Probably time to go buy again.
Maybe before we go.
Yeah. So Canyon Pawn is right across from Will's Toyota. They're on Shoshone Street, and they would like to have you stop by and say hi. And tell them we sent you just because.
Yeah.
You know, it always makes us sound good. Twin Falls
and that's the most important part.
It's all about us. It's all about us.
Sorry, yes. It's all... Oh my, he's like a horse to the barn, I'm telling you.
We have Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Lobes here with us. A lot of the discussion that's going on today is having a body cam or a camera on every police officer. And I know some departments have been doing that for a while. Some departments in Idaho. Surprisingly, I didn't know that. I think Canyon County and some of those in the Treasure Valley, Filer have been doing that.
Certainly didn't help them too much,
they have dash cams, which actually kind of probably played against them. But at any rate, Twin Falls Police, I guess, are kind of considering it. There's a cost involved. But from the prosecuting side, from the legal side, what do you think of the idea of cams on every cop?
Well, the more information we can get, the better, always. The whole point of policing, and especially policing that ends in prosecution and taking cases to juries, is to try to find out what actually happened, to try to get to the truth of something. So if you have a tool that allows you to do that, I'm all for that. But I think people should be aware that these tools don't lead to the absolute, clarity that people are assuming they would. If we only had a body cam, we'd have known what happened. Not necessarily. Years ago, we didn't have dash cams in cars. And, most agencies do now, although some still don't. And everybody thought, well, as soon as you have a dash cam on the police car, you're going to know exactly what happened. You're going to know, whether the guy was staggering, in a drunk test. You're going to know how fast the car was going, and you're going to know all of the details that you now are guessing at.
When he shot the dog.
And the problem is that the cameras are only focused on what they're focused on. You don't see what happens to the right or to the left or to the behind or up or down. And so people become convinced that they're going to get the whole story, and then, time and time again, we watch the camera, we watch the footage, and we say, I wonder what happened to the right there that made him do that. I wonder, could you hear what he said there? No, it was muffled. I mean, it isn't a perfect thing.
But do you think it's more helpful than not having him?
Again, any information we can get is good. I mean, a citizen camera is good. If a citizen is watching an event like in the New York incident, that helps you understand what happened. And so, yes, anything that increases our ability to find out what actually happened is good. Because as a prosecutor, when the police bring a report to me, I read the report and I have to go on what they've found in their investigation. When they attach a video of it, that's a great assistance to us in trying to figure out what charges to bring, what evidence to put on, and also, as you said, mentioning the Filer case, it didn't work out well for them. It's not supposed to work out well for anybody. If you have a camera, it records what actually happened. And of course, it's probably true that people who know that they're on camera, meaning the police, are even more careful to behave properly because they know they're on video.
And they say the statistics of people's complaints, I mean, if some crazy number went down like 80% in some city by just having the body cams,
well,
citizens' complaints about it.
Police are the target of all kinds of complaints. If you live in
justified or not.
Yeah, if you live in a big city, I mean, some of the big city attorneys' offices, city attorneys and prosecutors' offices have whole divisions that are dedicated to dealing with complaints about public officials, about police. And when they have a camera, a lot of those complaints, a lot of those lawsuits go away quickly because the guy who wants to blame the policeman for just attacking him for no reason often has his case thrown out as soon as somebody watches the camera of what happened. But again, the camera is just a tool like any other, and it has to be running, it has to be in good condition, it has to be focused on the right thing mainly. What I'm concerned about is in this move to bring about cameras that we have some kind of law that requires that you have a camera, that, if you didn't tape me committing a crime, you have to dismiss it. And that's a problem because, as I said, the camera might not always be working.
Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loeb's our guest this morning here on Top Story. 736-0300 is the number to call. 736-0300 is the number to call this morning on Top Story. Twin Falls County Prosecutor Grant Loeb's is our guest. Okay, so we see a lot of stuff on the social media networks anymore about cops out doing their jobs, and somebody is standing back videotaping everything they're doing. Sometimes the cops just put up with it. Other times they come over and demand to have that camera. So in Idaho, how do we stand on that?
Well, how do we stand? I mean, it's legal to tape a policeman doing his job. I mean, if a policeman's out doing his job in public and you have a camera and you want to record it, there's nothing illegal about that. And you don't have to surrender your camera or your phone or anything else. It's not a crime to tape policemen doing their jobs. And most policemen wouldn't think it was a problem.
Right.
And
although it has happened.
Well, yeah, I've seen some of those tapes, and I've just always wondered, you're on tape. You're now screaming at the guy who's taping you, demanding that he give you the tape while you're doing, maybe your job properly, maybe you're not. Either way, it doesn't look good for you to be all upset that you're being taped.
So being the person who's doing this and they come over and demand it, what should you do? You could be arrested, you could get beat over the head with a billy club, or,
Yeah.
It would be on tape then, wouldn't it?
Well, unless they destroy the camera.
No, I mean,
see.
I can't advise people what they should do in any given volatile situation, but you have a right to keep your phone, your video device. You have a right to record things. You can't go into a crime scene. I mean, if there's a crime scene tape up and the police are in some house investigating a murder or something, you don't just get to walk in and take pictures. But from a public vantage point, where you have a right to be, you're perfectly within your rights to take a photograph or a video or a tape recording of whatever you can see from that vantage point. Now, obviously, the police have an interest in controlling crowds and keeping people from trampling crime scenes and interfering with victims who might still be injured or something like that. And because you're a citizen with a camera, you can't barge through and interfere with that.
Right.
But if you're behaving in a peaceful way and you're taking a picture from a vantage point that you have a right to be in, they can't take your camera from you.
So everywhere we go, there are cameras recording us, practically. So now we're talking about, well, it might help if we put cams on cops. So is that a little bit unnerving that everything we do anymore, and we talk about privacy, and it seems like privacy is eluding us everywhere we go?
Well, I worry about the Google Glass. You don't know if someone's...
that's kind of part of it, actually.
But you're not, you don't know if they're recording you. You don't know. Some states you have to have mutual consent to record someone. Mm-hmm. And Idaho obviously isn't one of them.
Some are two-party states. Idaho is one party.
One party.
It's unnerving as a person. It's unnerving. It doesn't unnerve me to think that people who are doing their jobs and who are being paid by the public should have to have a camera showing what they're doing. That doesn't bother me particularly, that the police having a body cam. And it doesn't bother me particularly having a camera focused on an intersection to see what happens there, to see whether somebody runs a red light or causes an accident. And obviously you can't complain that shopkeepers have security cameras.
Right.
But the whole... when you add it all up, like you said, you're on camera all the time. And
so
as an individual person, it's annoying to me and a little unnerving. And sometimes you catch that the camera, like if you're in a bank or somewhere and you look up and you say, oh man, I look like an idiot today. Why do they have to be taking pictures? But,
because
when you
then
think
they
about it, you
rob
know
the bank
why.
and then your film is going to be on there.
When you think about it, you know why. And that's just the way it's going. I guess with Jill's question about people with, I guess they can put these cameras in glasses.
Yeah,
and,
it's Google Glass where they can then decide what they're going to record or not.
Yep.
And the thing of it is, rights of privacy, to use that for then a commercial use, you got a whole nother ball game going on,
For commercial use, yes.
Absolutely. So you don't know. I mean, hard news, fine. They can record people. They usually do them from the back. But to actually see someone's face and then, some people might use it for a commercial or what, the whole thing seems disturbing.
Yeah, I agree with you that it is, but obviously it is important for all these groups we've talked about to document what's going on.
Right, I think that part is. I'm just talking about individuals.
It can be used for mischief, for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Well, they can walk up to you on the street and start talking to you, and then go post it on, catch you saying some things that you may not ordinarily say, and then post it on a social media, and you're the victim.
Wouldn't that be?
There's really not much recourse for you, is there?
It depends who you are and what you say and how they use it.
And how they use it.
That would be, you could potentially sue somebody for doing that, especially if they're doing it for some kind of profit. But
I remember once Reebok made up someone's name.
Maybe people will get tired of it. I don't know.
Someone made it. They made up a name in their print ad. Go, we just made this name up, a first and a last name. Well, guess what? Of course, there were like 8 people that named like that and contacted Reebok. It's like, no, you don't do that. You know what I mean? It's always marketing would do stuff like that. But people think like there aren't laws that protect people. There are. You just can't use it for any purpose you want. It's crazy.
Yeah. But even if it's not a commercial purpose, I mean, with the social networks that we have now, it's not a social.
I would almost
not
think
a commercial
if
deal,
say
but
they're
they
getting,
can make you look like an idiot.
Right, but I would almost say too, like some people
the key then is to not be an idiot.
Get paid for their. You'd lose your job if people weren't idiots.
You
kind of thrive on people being idiots.
It might be a fair bargain. If people stop committing any kind of crime, I'd be probably
Here's the
okay
Huckabee Report. You can hear the Huckabee Report each weekday at this time, brought to you exclusively by Waddell & Reed. Laura Nelson, Josh Funk, and Steve Stanger are the financial advisors, and the number is 736-6563. Well, I wanted to tell you about Clearwater Power Equipment. They are the largest power equipment dealer in the Wood River Valley, and now they've moved to the Twin Falls area. Guys, they've been here for a while, though.
Have they?
Yeah, they have. And they're in the old General Building Supply building, which is at 252 Washington Street. They still have the, still got your lawnmower sitting out on the patio because you don't have any place to put it. They've still got that storage program. Give them a call. Ask them how to get involved in that. If you need to cut some firewood, they got Echo and Husqvarna chainsaws. This spring, if you got some leaves that still need to be raked up, they've got the leaf blowers.
Yeah.
They've got a hydraulic log splitter setting out front there. They've got a snow blower if we ever get any snow. So, they're the power equipment dealer for this area. They're the go-to people. So give them a call, stop by, tell them we sent you at 252 Washington Street or 734-7767. That's the folks at Clearwater Power Equipment. Now, if you have a little bigger problem, like lots and lots of manure out there around the feedlot that you need to pick up and take it someplace else, then you might be in the market for a low-end honey loader from Stanley & Company.
That's right.
And Pat Hartzell is the guy to talk to on that, because when you're putting your money into something that big, and it's a major investment, you want to see it working first. It's kind of like taking a test drive in a car before you buy it.
That's right.
Yeah, you can see one of these in operation. You can talk to the owner. You can find out all about it that you need to. And they load all kinds of manure, liquid, frozen, and dry. So if you need something like this on your feedlot or dairy operation, Pat Hartzell is the guy with Stanley & Company at 280-1167. He can help you out. And you tell him that we sent you. You tell him we told you to call.
Hey, well, tonight is the first night of Hanukkah.
Oh, Merry Hanukkah.
No, it's Happy Hanukkah.
Happy Hanukkah.
What's up with the Merry Hanukkah? You've worked with me 6 years and you say Merry Hanukkah?
I don't know.
What's the matter with you? Yes, you do.
You know that my memory is about as long as a minute.
It's Happy Hanukkah.
I'm sorry.
Oh, my gosh, tonight's the first night. So the point is, and you gave me that lovely...
You need to go home and go back to bed.
Please. we have this lovely wreath that you and your wife gave me, which is
was...
lovely, and it looks nice on our little mantle.
Well,
We've got Hanukkah, Christmas stuff combined. So tonight's the first night. So anyone out there, 7 more nights, people.
All right.
Drop it at the studio. 415 Park Avenue.
There, please bring Jill a gift.
Happy Hanukkah card. Happy Hanukkah greeting. No,
right.
Thank you. Anyway, it starts tonight. Should be a lot of fun.
The only person we have tomorrow, Greg Lanning, the Twin Falls City Council, for a State of the City at 9 o'clock. So
everyone who wants to talk about the banner building, call in and ask. Seriously, ask them why they felt there should not be a public hearing.
All right, there you go. So we'll see you tomorrow here on Top Story. Goodbye, Jill.
Bye, Cal.